I love it. It matches your haunting eyes. I don't know, am I really the woman in cobalt? The woman in crimson? It's a bit trite? Yeah, for me. It's gonna have to be a no. Oh, this is it. What? I've got it. This is the one. Don't you love it? What? I'm not sure. Is it really the harrowing, moaning abyss vibe you want? Personally, I'd be much more terrified if the bedroom door flew open at night to reveal the woman in beige. I dithered about what to make my 2023 Halloween book. Goodreads certainly had no shortage of options. I class horror alongside mystery and romance, mainline genre fiction where there's always a billion new books out that someone claims to be the best of its kind. I had a look at Hidden Pictures, the Goodreads Horror 2022 winner, but I was turned off by A, the Goodreads award winners not usually my cup of tea, and B, it pushing 400 pages, which I know isn't exactly War and Peace, but after a month of ploughing through the bookish shortlist, I was in the mood for something more snackish. I wanted something atmospheric, something spooky, the kind of story you can cuddle up with by a crackling fire. Step forward, The Woman in Black. The Woman in Black is a 1983 novel by Susan Hill, writer-prodigy and author of such favourites as The Battle of Gullywith and Rebecca 2, Mrs. De Winter. I joke, but some of her other books have certainly piqued my interest. So check back in next Halloween when I'll be reading The Man in the Picture, a 2007 novel where a Venetian painting sucks in people who look at it. Well, I for one cannot wait. I knew little about The Woman in Black when I began. I'd seen the Danny Rad film back in the day, from which I deduced it was a tale about a Victorian-ish man going to a spooky house where spooky things ensue. Now, having read the thing, I find myself wanting to talk about it for what it represents. See, where most modern horror novels, let's draw a line and call modern everything post-Stephen King, try to put some twist on the established tropes, The Woman in Black wears those tropes unashamedly. As such, it's something of a melting pot of cliché, with ancestry from a dozen 19th century Gothic and horror Gothic novels and novellas. But what of the story? Where do the stitch marks indicate a switch from one piece of classic horror literature to another? As with all good Gothic novels, we start with a framing device. An old man recounting the events of his youth, a la Frankenstein. Meet Arthur Kipps, a junior lawyer in old London town, and right off the bat we're getting a good whiff of Dracula, when the young lawyer is called away to a spooky mansion for some legal shenanigans. In Dracula's case, it was about buying foreign property. In The Woman in Black, Kipps is going to sort out the paperwork of one Mrs. Drablow, and 10 out of 10 for naming here. I love the self-descriptive names. See also Magwitch, Tintin, Goofy, and I suppose also Grimace. Drablow was the last surviving inhabitant of Eel House, a spooky mansion out on the marsh, inaccessible when the tide rises. So we're in a Dracula, The Haunting of Hill House situation, leaning more towards Dracula for how the village people are as foreboding as they are vague. So that's the premise, and I'll drop a spoiler warning here for anyone dying to read this 40-year-old bestseller. I was sure at the start that the newly dead Mrs. Drablow was the one who was going to be doing the haunting, but no, the central tragedy happened years earlier, when her nephew/adopted son drowned out on the marsh, causing her sister, the boy's birth mother, to become the titular Woman in Black. The implication being that the newly dead Mrs. Drablow had spent the last decade of her life alone, on the marsh, being haunted by her dead sister, which is a detail I rather liked. And here, I was getting a taste of the turn of the screw, how it's all about children and them being all perfect-like. Not a one-to-one comparison, but it proves my point, so it's going on the pile. As we went on, I found myself warming to Kipps as a character. There's one scene in particular where he returns to the spooky house after realising that yes, there is indeed an honest-to-goodness ghost haunting the place, and it's like a bit from Monty Python. Why should I care about the ghost? We'll just stay out of each other's way and all should be grand. It gave me horrifying flashbacks to reading At the Mountains of Madness, how the characters never seem particularly fazed by their discoveries. Though here, it's Kipps' very human way of dealing with overwhelming fear, temporary and false, whereas in Lovecraft, it's because they aren't so much characters as vehicles for racist subtext. But I digress. Then there's the ending, and this really had me torn. On the one hand, it has some subtle foreshadowing that would add something to a reread. On the other hand, it did all wrap up rather abruptly, a sort of, yes, we all know where this is going, smash cut to credits. I didn't hate it, at least it didn't waste my time, but it did leave a bad taste in my mouth after what had been a perfectly enjoyable spooky read. It wasn't enough, however, to sour me on the whole, and, after a month of heavy booker reads, I'm inclined to be charitable towards a book whose sole intention is to entertain. No, it won't shake you to your very core, but not every book has to. Think of it as a cozy stroll through the tropes of classic horror literature, without some weirdo breathing down your neck.